Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Echelon Cycling Podcast. And what you can hear behind you is Bergamo. But we are here discussing the world of cycling once again in what's happened in the week and just pondering over what might happen next week as well. As always, I can't do this on my own. I'm joined by Patrick Blake of Outdo Cycling and Mr. Crow himself, Ewan Wilson. And I mean, guys, this week has been, not bad, to be honest, considering the hectic one we had last week.
Yeah, it kind of feels like at this point cycling starts to sort of die down a little bit, but it's been a very interesting week all in all. Like the Italian races are just really cool ones to watch, and I think it's, you're definitely a cycling nerd. I think if you're still hanging around at this point of the season, and I don't think that the Italian races disappointed. They each sort of brought their own little unique victors to it, and I really enjoyed them. I think there was a great week to sort of round off the kind of what a lot of people deem to be sort of the traditional cycling season, even though there are still races still to go.
Yeah, definitely. It's not as hectic as before. There's no talks about mergers anymore, and we have an answer to the Roglic debate. So with that, I'm quite happy. It's the dust is settling.
I mean, we might as well start with the Jumbo Amazon merger not happening. What did you guys make of that? Kind of relief to many cycling fans, and but it's kind of just kicked down the line in a way.
Yeah, so this was confirmed by the Dutch language press that the merger between Soudal and Visma is not going to be happening anymore. The riders haven't really been commenting, but apparently the mergers are broken down. Since we last recorded last week, there was a UCI decision saying that, yes, if this were to happen, we just carry on with 17 more Tour teams. And it felt like everyone was bracing for impact. Roglic had moved, and we were talking about Remco moving teams as well. But it seems as though the merger is not happening. And Remco, after Il Lombardia, said that the merger talks seem to be sort of hot air at this point. So that has happened, and as well, we believe that the Amazon sort of money is also not on the table anymore. So Jumbo Visma don't have a merger, and they also don't have Amazon money. They still need to find a sponsor somewhere.
As if that all just in the space of a week, cycling went from complete hype to just complete, it's like, cue tumbleweed going across the screen. Like, it just feels... I hope that the Amazon thing would happen. We talked a lot about what kind of things that might mean for the future of the sport, and I kind of wish that it would happen. There's no telling that it might not happen in the future, but yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed by that, but the Soudal thing, I'm glad that didn't happen. I think that I don't think that would have been good for the sport to have such a dominant team, and yeah, I'm glad that Soudal Quickstep kind of remained their own thing. Especially, did you guys see whoever the social media manager was for Soudal Quickstep, who went off on some mad historical Twitter thread? I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but that was just, I don't even know, I didn't bother reading through it all, but I don't know, that was just a really chaotic thing. But yeah, I'm glad that Soudal Quickstep retained their identity, I suppose, because they have been a long time player in the sport, and it would be a shame to kind of seen them not lost, but kind of diluted, I guess.
And the more details we're getting, it seemed more like a hostile takeover. Well, there's only going to be 6 spots for Soudal riders at Soudal Visma Soudal, whatever it's going to be called. There were talks about Yves Lampard moving across and a couple of other guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite glad it's not happening. And we can all go back to sort of talking about Gleb Syriza and Alexei Lutsenko all day long.
He almost won the first stage of Tour of Turkey as well. Jasper Philipsen taking that. But yeah, Amazon not delivering for once.
I've ordered stuff from Amazon and it hasn't delivered before. I blame UPS, every Hermes, whatever you want to call them, courier companies all across the world. Please don't sue us. Other courier companies are available. All I'm saying is that you should use an Amazon locker, and I'm glad these discussions have been kept inside that Amazon locker, never to be opened again.
Yeah. Honestly, Scott, how long have you been holding on to that joke?
I was literally thinking about that for a very long time. But do you think Florent Seneschal moving to IKEA Samsic, he was doing it on the back of this maybe happening, or what do you think?
That probably happened beforehand. His results weren't sort of living up this year. He's very close to Fabio Jakobsen. They were very close over the past couple of years. I assume they still are. From like 2019 onwards, they're very, very good friends. And Jakobsen's leaving. Seneschal probably thought my time is up as well. Cavagna, we believe, is leaving as well. And they also had their announcement video. Like when they did the Demar announcement video, it was done on his phone, which seemed very last minute. Whereas the Seneschal announcement video was like actually in northern France on the cobblestones, like where Seneschal grew up. So I feel like there's a little bit more sort of an effort put into that one. But it's really cool to see Seneschal move over to Arkea, finally looking more like a World Tour team. And speaking of Arkea, Demar took his first win in Arkea colours this week as well.
Well, talking about Jumbo Visma, we might as well talk about Primoz Roglič riding his last race at Il Lombardia. We could discuss Il Lombardia, Tadej Pogačar, third victory, Roglič on the podium, but well, Roglič no longer Jumbo Visma rider in the next coming year. We've spoken about a lot on the Echelon. We spoke about on the Cycling Dane, etc., etc. And yeah, it seems confirmed now. Roglič moving to Bora Hansgrohe, and yeah, what do you guys think the future with Bora Hansgrohe is going to look like for Primoz Roglič?
I'm looking forward to it, actually. I'm happy to see that he's moved to Bora. I know that I was sort of on the side of, I think Ineos made more sense, but I guess looking back on it, I think Bora is quite a cool one. They pick him up for, I think it's like a 2-year deal, when he's still like in the good, kind of like very competitive years of his career. You know, give somebody for Bora to sort of rally around. I know, sorry, Ewan, but, you know, Vlasov wasn't quite cutting the mustard. Ita Brooks and Vlasov were apparently clashing heads. So I feel like Bora was, you know, we had Hindley and that success with him at the Giro, but I think that it's cool that they've got this big talent in there for this kind of big GC push at the Tour. Because obviously they're kind of sprinting prowess. I know they did win on the Champs-Elysees, but with kind of Bennett kind of fading out, I think they needed that new focus, and I think that Roglic is going to provide that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Bora are going to do with him next year, because I think it should be very successful.
Yeah, I'm hyped for this one. Bora have been stepping up as a GC team, and Roglic he's their first Galactico GC rider, and it'll be interesting to see how they take him, seeing Sasha Vlasov maybe ride as a luxury domestique, or these other riders really slot into a Grand Tour squad. I think it's looking really, really good. Also, I mean, this has been years in the making. Bora Hansgrohe, Bora Argon almost got their hands on Roglic back in 2015-16. They were in the hunt to get him when he transitioned, when he sort of made a splash at Adria Mobile and was supposed to be moving across the World Tour or the Pro Continental level. It was between Bora, Argon and Jumbo Visma. Jumbo Visma won the battle then. So Ralph Denk has had a long sort of connection with Roglic ever since he was sort of a rising star in cycling. So this one it's not just appeared, and it seems like the talks about this were happening before the merger, maybe linked to the Vuelta a España. There are also rumors about Ralph Denk and Roglic meeting midway through the season as well to talk about the future. So that definitely points towards there being a longer term project. And Roglic has been over to Salzburg, to the Red Bull training center as well since then. Red Bull, heavy influence in this deal. And also importantly, I think one thing we need to talk about in terms of the staff coming across is that Roglic's coach is coming across from Jumbo Visma, who's also the coach for Wout van Aert. So that might also be a crucial sort of change in the next year. We often see sort of staff members can really change up teams. And I mean, we talk about equipment, but there's also similarly staff members. For instance, Intermarché made some really, really good staff transfers last year, and it was really fruitful for them. Maybe Wout and Roglic as coach moving over to Bora Hansgrohe could change the game over there. What that means for Wout, we don't know, but Roglic he's got a tight-knit squad over there, and we'll see how he goes at Bora, probably leading the Tour de France next year. That is their big project.
Easy going to win the Tour de France next year. Obviously, Vingegaard, Pogačar, he still needs to beat them. So given their squad, we kind of did a vague Tour de France team over on the Cycling Dane video. Who was it that's no longer in the team that you put in the team?
Yeah, that was Patrick Conrad.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
He's on Lidl track next year. Whoops. But
they should have kept him.
Now in hindsight, they should have kept him. But yeah, he's been with the team for a long time. I wanted some change. But yeah, in hindsight, he would have been a really, really useful domestique. Maybe, I mean, are there any climbers left in the market? Rui Costa can't get a contract for next year. So maybe they try to fork out for Costa for him to be a luxury domestic, well, not even luxury, to be a domestique for next year. We'll see if Bora make any last-minute transfers. They've also got a really good youth program and young riders coming through. It's just hard for them to sort of slot into that role as a sort of domestique in the mountains. They've also lost Fabro, who is another really good domestique. He's heading over to Eola Cometa. So it's almost a shame that Bora didn't have the hindsight to know the whole way through this transfer season to keep these guys, but they've still got a really, really good squad to help Roglic. I would say probably be the third strongest squad in next year's Tour de France.
Yeah, I think that Roglic's got a great chance of the podium for win. I mean, all it takes is just for we saw it this year, Pogacar's prep wasn't brilliant. Roglic, I would argue, on good form, would have definitely come second at this year's Tour. All it takes is just for Jonas or Pog to be slightly below par, or for some bad luck to happen. I'm not saying that I want that to happen, just saying that it can happen. There's no reason why Roglic couldn't be able to win the Tour with one or two things that go his way next year, which don't go in the favour of Pogacar and Jonas. At the end of the day, Roglic is not some second-tier GC rider. He is one of the favourites. He is a Grand Tour winner this year. He's a podium contender even with the best. And, he's not he's not bad, let's put it that way. He could certainly... it'll be really interesting to see, actually, that now that we've got this Galacticos rider gone to another team, a team which doesn't have a Galacticos rider, how that's going to fit in. Are we going to have this other team coming into it? And I really like that. And I like that it's not just UAE versus Jumbo. I like there's going to be another team in the mix there. I think it's going to be better for the sport and more interesting to watch next year, the Tour, than it has been the last couple of years, where it's just been kind of two teams going at it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that dynamic is going to be like. It's going to be a bit of a pain for thumbnails though. How are we going to do split it up in threes? Because it was quite easy with twos, head to head, but threes is going to be a bit more difficult, I think.
Oh no, we can do that. We can do that. I'm not worried about that. But also, I mean, talking about luck, Roglic is always on the side of bad luck. You say, is it bad luck if his bike handling is poor or whatever? But he's crashed an awful lot in the Tour de France in the past. But next year, it's going to be quite a unique route. We end with a time trial, and we're going to have mountains very early on the Alps in the first week of racing. There's also, we believe, going to be a gravel stage as well. So that really could throw things up in the air. How is Jonas going to react to that? When we know Tadej is really, really good at the gravel, maybe the gravel stage means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But if Roglic has all the right circumstances, he certainly could win next year's Tour de France. It's just looking as though Jonas particularly, but Pog and Jonas are just sort of stratospherically above everybody else. But if anybody were to rival these two, it would be Roglic. It'd be intriguing to see how Roglic rides against Jonas, given that he is his teammate and also was his mentor through 2019 and 20, and to some extent 2021. He's going to be a little insider. He's going to be telling all the guys at Bora, him and Maxi Schachmann are going to be having big sort of deep plotting sessions with a big notebook open with all of Jonas's deepest and darkest secrets. Maybe on the bike, he knows something Jonas doesn't know, Jonas Vingegaard is actually, he really hates the smell of pineapples. And then you're going to see him, Bob Jungels, open up a tin of pineapples in the face of Jonas Vingegaard. And Jonas is I hate the smell. And then he's I don't know, he can't ride to victory or whatever, We haven't seen it before, whereas, I mean, a little bit when Richie Porte moved, but Richie Porte wasn't really a legitimate Grand Tour winner, whereas Roglic really is.
Place in 2020.
Okay.
You still owe your bet from that, by the way.
That's not winning.
That's not winning, exactly. But having a teammate move across to another team, when it's literally two of the best, two of the top three riders in the world, or top four, Remco Evenepoel as well. It'll be intriguing.
Patrick touched on it before as well. Okay, Roglic goes to the Tour de France. Jad Hindley to the Giro, and then Roglic probably gets the Vuelta as well. What happens to Autobrooks and Vlasov in this equation?
Autobrooks shouldn't do the Tour de France next year, I don't think.
Yeah, but is he going to Ineos now? Is he going to be leaving because of that spat with Vlasov?
And it was mentioned beforehand as well. early this year that he was saying that he might move teams in the years to come. He's not going to sign his life away, which I think is actually quite a smart thing to do for young riders, to not sign your life away, because we see a lot of these young riders do that. If they don't get the results, it doesn't quite make sense for them. It's worked with a lot of riders, but like for instance, Ayuso signed up till 2027. It might have been wise in hindsight to just have a shorter contract in case he wants to move teams. But for Uiterbrooks, I don't know. He's a smart guy. We'll see what he does. Moving to Ineos could make sense, but why would he want to jump onto a dying horse, you know?
They need him desperately.
I mean, I think Uiterbrooks would make sense at Bora. Like, look back to the Vuelta. What was Uiterbrooks' big weakness? Was his time trialing. Like, he shit big time on that TT. He lost more time than Landa did on that stage 10 TT, and we know how good Ineos are with their TT knowledge. They got, Bingham is the TT guru nowadays. Ganna, Tarling, G, like their time trialing expertise is almost unrivaled, and you could say that Uiterbrooks moving there might make more sense than staying at Bora, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. That's just my 2 cents on it.
As you can see behind me, on the podcast, it's getting ever dark here in Bergamo. About a bit over 24 hours ago, Tadej Pogačar took his 3rd monument. Very impressive, even cramping up. We talked about it over on the recap on the Cycling Day and Extra. But I mean, yeah, Tadej Pogačar winning 3rd in a row, like, not really something that happens every year. But the big question always is with these kind of monuments, is he going to be able to rival the greats? Is he going to be able to basically win the ones he's remaining of Paris-Roubaix and Milan-San Remo? He showed he won Ronde van Vlaanderen this year. 2021, he won Liège-Bastogne-Liège, but he's just missing those 2. He is so different from the traditional Tour de France rider we've had of the 2000s, 2010s. And what is your 2 cents on this? Will we see him complete his monument palette in 2024?
Roubaix is the one I just think is so hard for him to get. We saw at the couple stage at the 2022 Tour de France, he certainly could be up there in contention. It's just such a huge risk with the calendar he has focusing on the Tour de France. We saw that even this year at Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the fact that he was focusing on the classics, then with that crash, put his Tour de France preparation at risk. If there was a year where he was like, you know what, I'm going to do something else, maybe not focus on the Tour de France as much, then maybe he could go to Roubaix and try to win that one. But just with the risk of crashes and the physiological damage that can come from Paris-Roubaix, I think that one's just going to be almost too hard to win. And also, not many people win it on debut. I know Sonny Colbrelli did in the COVID one in 2021, but that's relatively rare. You'd probably have to do it maybe once or twice beforehand before realize. I mean, I say that he came top 5 in his debut Ronde van Vlaanderen, and he is Tadej Pogačar. Maybe he does just jump straight into it and contend for the win. But for him to do it maybe 2-3 seasons before winning it, it's a big sacrifice on his calendar and the risk factor of competing in that race. And then with Sanremo, I mean, we've seen him try. He's been up there in lightning hot form last year, in particular in 2022, after winning Strada Bianca, looked like he was in incredible form, and it just didn't happen for him. He attacked, but I just don't think the route is it just doesn't quite suit Pogačar. He needs to sort of get rid of everybody else before the end. He could certainly do that, but the Cipressa is it's no Alp. It's no Passo di Ganda like we saw in Lombardia. It's short, and we've seen sprinters and Van der Poels and Van Aerts able to hold on. If Pogačar can get rid of them and the stars align, 100% he could win that, or he goes into a sort of reduced sprint with the Alaphilippe Alaphilippe of old. But like that kind of type of rider who's a puncher that I think Pogačar can out sprint, then maybe it'll all work out. But I just think these are the 2 hardest ones for him to win. But Roubaix, in terms of that risk, really just makes it unattractive to believe that the 5 monuments is legitimately a target of his.
I do agree with that. I'm trying to think of the 2, which do I see Pogačar winning first? I don't really know. MSR's just, like you say, like it's just a bit of a lottery. Like it's just a bit of a risk. Like they're just kind of, like you spin a wheel and, maybe you do an attack and it works. Maybe you, like Van der Poel attacked this year and it worked. Like he just went solo. What if that was Pogačar? Like he could, in theory, I think, do something similar to what Van der Poel did this year, to what Mohorič has done in 2021 or whatever. I think it could happen. Roubaix, I think, is going to take time. Like Ewan says, I think he needs to actually do it. But for that, he needs to put the Tour aside. But UAE surely won't allow that for now because Pogačar is the guy for the Tour. Like, he's their best chance. You know, guys like Ayuso need time, I think. So whether it'll be like, they essentially need Ayuso to come up to a level where he's competitive with Vingegaard, where Pogačar is then let free to be allowed to do a bit more of a risky spring classics campaign. I think that's where it will happen. So I think it's maybe a matter of time. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if Pogačar did win Roubaix. I think of all the riders in the peloton, Pogačar is most likely to be the person who wins all 5. But I just don't think it's going to happen in the next 2 years. You know, maybe he reforms himself. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he'd so I'm fed up being a GC rider now. I'm going to go full classics. Gets to 20, 28 or something, and Pogačar's just now a full-blown classics star, basically. He's just sacked off the Tour. Yeah, I think it's possible that he can do it, but yeah, it's just going to take, I just think, a little bit of time. He's just going to keep going for MSR, I think. I think it could fall his way just one time. You never know. And Roubaix, I think he's just got to keep, I think he's actually got to do it, but to do that, UAE have got to let him loose.
I mean, Nibali's won Milan San Remo. We got to believe that that Pogačar could. But I think just at the moment there are so many riders with such like excellent kicks who can still climb, like your Van der Poels, like your Van Aerts. But they're also three years older than Pogačar. They're going to start aging.
But then Arnaud Delis is coming.
Yeah. Arnaud Delis of the world, your insert big wonder kid names, who are also sort of joining the frame. But it wouldn't be shocking if he did win both, you know? Like, at this point, I feel like nothing is really shocking me about Pogačar. But if he were to sew all 5 monuments up, would that sort of set him out as the best rider, the second best rider in the history of professional cycling behind Eddy Merckx?
He still needs the 5 Tour de France, I think, and he hasn't won the Giro or the Vuelta. Like Bernard Hinault famously one time he just got off his bike at Paris-Roubaix. He couldn't be bothered to win it, but he's won it before. He hasn't won a Worlds either, so there's a lot of things he still needs to pick up.
Okay, yeah, fair. Maybe that's just recency bias.
Greg LeMond as well. He still hasn't got 3, so...
Yeah, I think he will win a Giro, but that's a different discussion. That's not about the 5 monuments.
Do you actually think he's going to win Paris-Roubaix? He has never done Paris-Roubaix, so...
In that case, I'm just going to say no, because he is also a Grand Tour contender, and Grand Tour contenders just don't do Roubaix.
It's true.
And sometimes they do Ronda. We see Nibali, Valverde, Balde. They've all done sort of Ronda in the past. Yeah, but in terms of, it wasn't like abnormal for him to do Ronda. It would be abnormal if he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Roubaix. Grand Tour contenders just don't do that. I'm not accepting Bradley Wiggins as an answer.
Geraint Thomas?
That was before his Grand Tour transition, though. Maybe Pog has the reverse transition, where he began life as a Grand Tour contender.
That's the Wiggins.
Yeah, true. But as starting life as a Grand Tour contender, then going into the classics. Wiggins got a top 10 in Roubaix. He was hardly Fabian Cancellara. Whereas Pogačar is a guy he probably could if he wanted to. And we saw that at the cobble stage, a couple of years back. He was right up there, really sort of aggressively riding. But those level of cobblestones weren't quite the Carrefour de Labras and the Tour d'Arenbergs of the world. Do you even have a squad strong enough to support him in Roubaix? Let's think about it that way as well. They've just lost Matteo Trentin.
Pollitt's back. Or back. He's signed with them.
Yeah, but Pollard's Spring Classics results haven't really been showing that much over the past 2 years.
I think he'll do it, personally. I think that Pogačar will win a Roubaix. If he targets it, I think he can do it. Because I think we're moving into a period in cycling where there's a lot of riders who aren't jack of all trades. They're sort of 80 kg, like cobbled classic guy is sort of becoming less prevalent in the peloton. You're seeing a lot more of these Pogačar-esque riders who are like 70-ish kilograms, and they sort of do it all. So I mean, you're going to reach a point where you might have a very similar level of sort of top level rider who all have quite similar characteristics. And I think at that point, like, I think Pogačar could do it, because I can't think of any like world class beating cobble guys coming up. Maybe that Persson Hagen, and I don't know, maybe he'll be the kryptonite to Pogačar in the future. I don't know. But I honestly think that Pogačar, if he's allowed to target it, I reckon he could win Roubaix. I really think he can.
He's also like a bit of like a cycling nerd. Like, he loves the sport, and I think he has a genuine I hate the word respect. I think there's almost like a sort of fetish over the word respect in cycling, but like, he really does respect the history of the sport and like all the sort of the tradition and so forth. I think he will probably just be like, you know what, I kind of want to go for it. I want to at least try to get all 5. And if Jonas does just become so unassailable and we have this huge sort of gulf between the two that we saw emerging this year, that there is a bit of a chasm between the two at the Tour de France, then Pog could have more scope to be risky with his calendar. Especially if you have, as you say, Patrick, like now you saw Isaac Del Toro. I had sort of at the highest level to compete for the Tour de France.
I mean, he was talking about racing at Flanders. He just enjoyed the heritage, etc. And I mean, link that to Froome, that famously didn't know what Liège-Bastogne-Liège was. So, make of that.
And Jonas, who didn't know what color the leader's jersey was. Tirreno Adriatico.
Okay, that was pretty bad. Anyways, we might as well move on. Gravel World Championships. Who thought we would be covering that here on the Echelon Cycling Podcast? Ewan famously moaning over, well, I think it's fair enough. The women's weren't broadcast, which I think was absolute disgrace. But Matej Mohorič winning the men's, and what did you? Connor Swift, a Yorkshireman, on the podium as well. Wout van Aert crashing.
What? I thought Wout van Aert was going to come second. Isn't that what usually happens?
Just sees a rainbow and immediately silver medal's mine.
I mean, I will be honest with you. I didn't watch it, but I don't know. Gravel racing is kind of. I think that I'm more intrigued in gravel racing because road riders do it. Like, it's not just some, I don't know, little gimmicky thing. It's kind of gaining a bit more notability in the peloton, I guess, if you want to call it that. But Mohorič, I think, honestly, fair play. The women's one was a bit annoying, but it wasn't broadcast. But Nivea Doma won that, didn't she? If I'm not mistaken.
Persico in second, and Demi Vollering Tour de France winner in third.
Yeah. Honestly, I quite like how the big names give gravel a bit of a go as well. I think that you may as well. If it's the end of the season, if you crash, it's the off season. Oh well, it'll be all right. I just think it's a nice little kind of bookend on the end of the season. So fair play to Mohorič and Nivea Doma. Chapeau doing that.
Do you think we're ever going to see an actual gravel rider win the gravel worlds? Because I mean, it's just been road riders winning it,
but not like the sort of. I mean, with Vermeersch last year and then this year in terms of the men's one, Vermeersch last year and then this year with Mohorič, but they're not like sort of their A list. I love Mohorič, but I think he's just on that B list of classics contenders, just like on the
Panorama winner.
I know, but he's not quite Galactico level. I really like Mohorič, and I'm really glad he won.
Wait, didn't he win the Renewed Tour this year?
Yeah, but like,
on a stage at the Tour, but not quite. Okay, fine.
No. Okay, but he's not like Evenepoel, Van der Poel, Van Aert level, he's not a Galactico, but he's like still in terms of like who's won the men's road championships over the past couple of years. But it was also intriguing to see some riders that you just like. It was like a bit of a throwback. Paul Voss, who used to ride for Bora Argon 18, like almost like 10 years ago. He was up there in the leading group for a while. Cam Mason from Scotland, from Linlithgow, he was right up there as well. Cyclocross racer, YouTuber as well, was right up in the frame. And yeah, it was cool to see these guys hanging onto that front group. And a mention for Alejandro Valverde, who was also right up there in the top 5 of this race. Despite being 112 years old, he can still be right up there in the World Championships. He's a gravel rider now, although the gravel scene apparently don't like the fact that he races the races. There was
Roach as well.
There was some, yeah, true. There was some like silly controversy about him last year, about him this year, wasn't there? Valverde, like the gravel riders were annoyed that he was taking gravel racing too seriously, and they got annoyed. But I mean, Matej Mohorič, he has the pleasure of wearing the jersey that no one's going to see next year because the gravel races aren't televised. But he might be able to wear a rainbow jersey in the presence of Valtteri Bottas if he goes to one of these gravel World Series events, given that Valtteri Bottas shows his face every now and then in the gravel scene. Valtteri Bottas, Finnish Formula One drivers, for our non-F1 fans out there.
Maybe Mohorič gets to wear it for that one gravel stage at the Tour next year if he goes. Maybe
that would be good.
If he does it, he can wear it.
But we now know like who's going to go into that stage as the favorite. It's all going to be Matej Mohorič, gravel world champion. Look out for him on this stage. Yeah, that's going to be the one to look out for. In the same way, like whenever there was a cobble stage at the Tour de France, it's like you need to look out for the Paris-Roubaix champion. It'll be the same thing with Mohorič. Maybe as well, Strada Bianca, if he does that one, he should be able to wear his little jersey.
Before we go on to a little transfer ranking, but there were also other races going on, not just Lombardia. We talked a bit about Tour of Turkey, where Jasper Philipsen took yet another win. Oh, here we go.
Tour of Turkey.
Okay.
They officially changed their name because Turkey is trying to rebrand itself.
But isn't it Presidential Tour of Turkey then?
I don't think it's called the Presidential. Oh, it is still called the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey. This is the 58th edition. But yeah, it's moved because sadly, there was a terrible situation earlier this year where there was an earthquake in Turkey,
true, actually.
Or in Turkey, and it had to be moved from its normal slot in the springtime to August, well, to October. Gosh, to October time. So not an ideal way for that race to happen, but just looking over into the results, we're recording on the same day as stage 1. That was by Jasper Philipsen ahead of Caleb Syriza and Timothy Dupont in 3rd. Dupont's a guy I think should really be moving up to the pro continental level next year, 35 years of age. He's had some pretty decent victories over the past couple of years. He's at the continental level now. I really thought he'd make the step up, so maybe this will be a advert billboard for him to get a bit of a move up.
I thought he did a few years ago, and then he kind of went down again.
Well, he did, yeah. But like, he's still a decent rider. He is quite old, but still.
I mean, Van Wilde won Trevali as well. That was quite exciting. Grand Piemonte as well. Andrea Bajoli taking a 2nd place as well at Il Lombardia. Who saw that coming, apart from Ewan, who actually said that in January. Quite impressive. Paris Tours. I was a bit light down about this race. I watched it today. Sometimes it's a great race, and today it seemed like it was just a breakaway that wasn't quite brought back, and Laporte was the fastest of essentially what would have been the race or the sprinters.
Yeah, I think you're right about Paris Tours. Sometimes it is just an absolute banger, and it's like one of maybe like a top 5 race or top 5 one-day race you should have watched that year. And then like something like last year, for example, when Demar won, like it's just like a sprint, and you never quite know whether it's just going to be a kind of pretty standard sprint with some gravel in there, or if it's going to be like an absolute kind of like attritional, groups everywhere, bikes are flung everywhere, Lefebvre's protesting about gravel at the side of the road, sort of like carnage. And yeah, this year was just one of those where the breakaway wasn't caught. It's like a Roubaix in that sense, where people wanted to be there. But yeah, it's just like you say, Scott, it's just a bit of a wild one. You never quite know what you're going to get out of Paris Tours. So I'll tell you who would have won it: Matej Mohorič, Gravel World Champ. That's who would have won it today. I've never even heard of the dude who won. Rides for Israel Premier Tech. I'm like, what? Where did this come from?
And he's got an interesting story as well. Riley Sheehan, man with an Irish name, but he's from Boulder, Colorado, like many people in the cycling world. I kept seeing the name Sheehan pop around on Twitter, and maybe it's just my Rugby World Cup head right now, but he's one of like the top players for the Irish national team in rugby. So I was like, oh, people are just talking about the rugby player. I had no idea who this rider was. It turns out the guy who won Paris Tour was called Riley Sheehan. He's 23 years of age. He's had a bit of a very atypical pathway into the sport. He was picked up by Israel Premier Tech at the middle of this year, but he's not riding for them next year. He's riding for the Denver Disruptors, which were mentioned a couple months back when we were making fun of Miguel Angel Lopez in America.
Was it not Sergio Henao that owns that team? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He does have something to do with it, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. He's on the team. Reinhard Janssen van Rensburg and Sergei Tverkov are also on that team as well. All-stars list at the moment at the Denver Disruptors, but this guy Riley Sheehan is on Denver Disruptors. Yeah, and now he's just won Paris Tour, really disrupting affairs there. And he used to ride for the Saint-Germain development team, the yogurt team that used to exist, if you remember them a couple of years back. So yeah, an interesting one for this guy who doesn't even have a contract next year in professional racing. He's going back to like whatever level that squad is, but he did beat Superman Lopez earlier this year. So he defeated the god, the TT legend of Miguel Angel Lopez. So that does say a lot.
Yeah. We should have seen this coming from a mile off.
Yeah, I'm ignorant for not knowing who he was.
I mean, we might as well finish with a little clip of a different sort. Obviously, the transfer season is not concluded this year completely. Ineos Grenadiers, we're looking at you. But in terms of last year's transfers and performing this year, who do you think has been the best transfer, or is there anyone that really stands out for you? Obviously, Adam Yates stands out, podium finisher, winner of a Tour of Romandy, etc., signing from Ineos Grenadiers to UAE. Why did you let that happen, Ineos? But anyone else we can throw in the hat or in the ring?
And we have to throw in Adam Yates, yeah, as you said, third place at the Tour de France. He's had more Grand Tour stage. Well, he's had a Grand Tour stage win, yellow jersey stint as well at the Tour de France. It really is sort of a year to remember for him. Pretty neat, you must say. I'm going to throw one into the ring. That's more of a teammate one. Attila Valter. He's the most successful teammate of the World Tour this year in terms of like assists. Like he was on the team of the winning rider the most out of any other rider on the World Tour this year. So that definitely has to go down as something. I think he really stood out this year, Valter, as a rider who's definitely stepped up a level. He was good at Groupama, but this year he was so much more like present. Maybe it's a Hungarian national champions jersey, but you could see that he was definitely stepping up as a rider and as a world-class domestique. I really hope to see him next year at the Tour de France.
Groves as well. It's a big one. Of course, he won a stage for Giro, won a lot of stages at the Vuelta. So, when you take a guy in and he's won Grand Tour stages over multiple Grand Tours in his kind of first year of a team, that's a hard one to look past as well. And I think he really kind of fits in well at Alpecin. They've got Van der Poel for the classics. Philipsen kind of dabbles in the classics as well, but he's their premier sprinter, and Groves is just there as like this, a really reliable, gets over quite a lot of hills as well. He's super reliable in that sense as well, where they can send him to the other races where they don't want to send Philipsen to kind of go and smash it. They can kind of send him, and he's very competitive. So I think Groves is a real good one as well. And also Søren Kragh, actually, signed for Alpecin. He was very good for their kind of classics campaign. Do you remember when Van der Poel had that mare off the back of Flanders and he like solo dragged him back or something? I know Van der Poel didn't win that day, but I think Søren Kragh has been quietly quite understated this year as well.
This year there aren't many sort of headline acts, but I think there's a lot of good domestiques. One that went really under the radar, I was raving about him yesterday in Lombardia. Chris Harper really stepped up this year, particularly at the Tour de France. Moved across from Jumbo Visma, and he's been really influential in Simon Yates' success this year. Also looking towards like Tim Wellens, who got a number of big victories this year and was right in the mix for UAE. I know it feels like a while back since he was right up there. His allergy problems kind of disappears in sort of summertime, but he's had a really strong year as well. Felix Groscharner, I think, for UAE similarly jumped into that squad and played a really important role in the Tour de France, and particularly in Paris-Nice towards Pogacar winning those races.
Kelderman, Van Baal.
Van Baal, I think definitely, in terms of Jumbo Visma, that definitely added something.
Rui Costa is probably the most surprising transfer when you think about it. We were kind of saying that, oh, well, he's not really done anything in the last few years. He took a victory early on in the early Spanish one-day races, then won the Tour of Valencia in a very thrilling finish. And then top 10 in Algarve, Drôme Classic, finishing second there. And I mean, the highlight was taking a Welter stage win. And fifth in Grand Piemonte this week. So, I mean, and you just said early on in the episode, he's not got a contract next year. Maybe he's priced himself out for next year.
Yeah, maybe because he's at this weird sort of point in his product life cycle now where he's sort of revived himself at the age of, 36, 37. So, yeah, it's interesting to see where he's going to go in the next year. Also, I mean, I just had another thought about like who do you think is the most underwhelming transfer of the year? What was one you were hoping more for? I mean, Richard Carap has the EF. He's had some decent success, but I was expecting a lot more from him. At least,
I would agree. Yeah,
one UCI World Tour level victory this year. We haven't seen that. He came close to one, but missed out. Is anybody else coming to mind? Really,
Esfacion for me going to Trek. Not really.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Who else have we got? Thierry Arensman was quite good, so don't want to put him in the bad.
Yeah, Arensman, especially the Giro. Arensman, the Giro was absolutely fantastic. You got to point that one out. But
underwhelming. Yeah, I'm still struggling on that one.
Christoph?
He did take a stage win though, and are you
not at the World Tour level?
Oh,
for me, that's a big deal. It has to be
a tour stage.
He didn't win a tour stage, but like a World Tour level win. I think that even if it's like a Renewy Tour stage, that's still it's a huge deal. But I don't know. I feel like I was a little bit let down by him. That's just me. I'm picky.
This I keep thinking I keep thinking of riders who didn't transfer this season, but transferred last season. I don't know what.
Ooh, Jan Hirt, my boy.
That's a good one. That is.
I was so on board the Jan Hirt hype train last year. Then he took that Giro stage, finished top 10 overall, and I was uber excited for him to be like Remco Evenepoel's right-hand man. Just under-delivered this year, I feel.
I don't know why, but I'm trying to think of DSM riders.
Oy vey.
I don't know why, but for some reason I just feel like they're the kind of team who really kind of go for like a big chunk of riders to bring in, and there's usually one or two who don't quite live up to the billing.
Ruben Guerrero.
Ooh,
won the Saudi tour, but do we?
Yeah, he wasn't that great. Where even is he this year? Is he in Movistar?
Yeah, he was up there in a lot of Tour de France breaks.
Yeah, but so was like I don't know.
I'm waiting.
Ferron or something.
Yes, and Valentin Ferron is a god. He's fantastic. What are you talking about?
Trying to think about
Sana. Oh, for good one. Not
yes, Pippo Sana, 100%.
And one more good one. I know I'm messing this up completely. Who was I thinking of?
Eddie Dunbar.
Yeah, exactly.
Was Max Poole a signing for this year?
I don't think development projects can.
Oh my word!
Yeah, that's a bit far. He was within the team.
Okay, fair enough. Was Tarling a signing for this year, or is that also?
I don't know. I feel like children don't count. I'll put it that way.
I feel he's a person. It counts.
Yeah, I think
he can't buy alcohol in America. He's not. He simply doesn't count.
Is he riding in America? There's no more races over there. Thank you.
This is a Neo-Pro season for the Tarling, so it must be a signing. Third at Worlds, won a stage of Renew Tour, joint youngest World Tour winner with Remco Evenepoel.
This could be it. I mean, for the money you're paying, I'm pretty sure Adam Yates is on some big dollar or euros or whatever.
Versus Josh Tarling is probably being paid by the Cadbury bar or something like that. Like, it's probably, I don't know what he's being paid, but I don't think you get paid a lot as a Neo-Pro.
He's getting paid 5 tins of baked beans every week.
Yeah, legit.
This year, we haven't even spoken about Jay Vine as well. Had a good transfer. I think a lot of the good transfers this year are definitely teammates rather than the headline acts. I reiterate my point.
Anyways, with that, we might as well come to Rider of the Week. And is anyone going to go for Tadej Pogačar? That's the big question. Who is your Rider of the Week?
My Rider of the Week is Andrea Bargioli, because I think that he's finally lived up to the hype which I think was formed around him like 3 years ago. And he's done it. He got his win, monument podium, and yeah, honestly, can't wait to see what Lidl Trek could do with him next year. I think that's going to be a real good kind of matchup. So yeah, fair play with Bargioli. He literally came first, second, and third the last kind of races that he's done. So that's pretty insane.
Okay, I'm going to go for Per Strand Hagenes.
Not Wout van Aert. He took a race as well.
I'm going for Per Strand Hagenes.
Same team. Oh, sad times.
Because I don't know if you guys saw the Münsterland Giro finish, but he was like ahead of everybody. And I think he thought there was one more lap left of the race, and he carried on racing. It's like he came across the finishing line, and like usually it's the other way around. People think the race is over one lap before the end. Per Strand Hagenes like comes through like across the finishing line, like he's won the race, and he keeps riding. He probably thinks he has another lap to go, and the fact that he was ahead of an elite group, including so many big names, he was 17 seconds ahead of them, and he still had the energy to go for another lap of the circuit. It's just phenomenal. And that kid is only 20 years of age, born in 2003. He's technically a Jumbo Visma development rider, but he's a development rider who's beaten a lot of World Tour talent at the Münsterland Giro. So for me, it's going to be the Norwegian Per Strand Hagenes.
Damn, Norwegians, so talented. They're going to destroy the Danish golden generation. I can see it coming very soon. I'm not going for Tadej Pogačar. I'm going for Fedorov, who is the new Asian Summer Games champion, even though it was in October. He beat a podcast favorite, Alexei Lutsenko, into first place. So, who would have thought that coming?
Is this the one where they get to wear the jersey?
I'm not sure.
Because the Asian champion, I think Fedorov was the Asian champion.
Probably. It sounds familiar.
It's like a rainbow band, but with spaces.
Yeah, I think it is. I can't believe your Rider of the Week is the person who beat the.
Is that treason? Treason.
It literally is treason. This isn't going to stand.
It's a big week for favourites coming second. Gleb Syriza second as well. Is
there going to be a week where you don't name him?
Second.
I'm mentioning Gleb every week. He's my boy.
We need a t-shirt. Gleb.
Literally.
I need him.
Need him across races at this rate.
Fedorov was actually was he under 23 world champion back in last year?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I feel like that went so under the radar.
That did go under the radar. So, we're bringing it up to the radar now. So
just a year late.
Yeah. Oops. But yeah, he's at the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey. So
Turkey, please. Okay. They've pumped so much money into changing their name. Respect it.
And here I am just destroying it. Anyways, that's it for this 37th episode. As always, make sure to comment down below what you thought of this cycling week. Is Tadej Pogačar the greatest cycling of the modern era? And if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. And if you haven't already, give us a 5-star review on Spotify, because we need that. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next week.